welcome back to One-on-One with Mr. U. Of course, I'm your host, Mr. U. In studio with us today, accomplished entrepreneur, co-founder of JB Addo Clothiers, and the founder of Heroes Media Group. Adam Bird is in the house. Adam, how are you, brother?
Hey, what's happening, my man? How you doing?
Fantastic, man. This is good stuff here, man. I'm excited, man. Loving this. All right, so we had a lot of things that we talked about, so I want to get into as much as we can with the time that we have today. Yeah. But you are definitely in. You got your hands in a lot of things, like we said, the clothing line. You know what you're doing with the media group, entrepreneur stuff, building leaders, man. You do a lot, man. So I want to try to get into everything that we can.
Yeah.
But customarily, I always ask our guests, talk about your childhood, man. Where you're from, man. Talk about your upbringing. What was little Adam like?
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah. I was born and raised in Wisconsin. Spent most of my upbringing in a small town in northern Wisconsin. And then at the age of 15, we moved to Tucson, Arizona. And that's kind of where I grew, or I graduated high school in Arizona. But most of my childhood memories that I'm fond of are, I still consider Wisconsin home. So yeah, that's it. I was into athletics. It was, sports, all that other stuff. It was horrible at school. And then when I moved to Arizona, it was different. Like I was somebody up in Wisconsin. I was a good athlete. Then you move to a much larger city where there's more people that play sports year round. And you become a nobody really quick. So it was a little different, but it was, the upbringing and the childhood. Spent a lot of time outdoors, hunting, fishing, which is still very much a passion of mine. I can't complain, man. It was I've got to see a lot of the country at an early age in life.
No, I like that, man. That makes you more well-rounded, man.
Yeah.
What would you say? Would you say that there was a leadership lesson that took place? Because you're really big into leadership, man. So I'm wondering where it started. Would you say it started in Wisconsin, was in Arizona when you guys were transitioning? Where do you think it started?
That's such a great question. Nobody's asked me, like, and when I think leadership, I always think it started like when I joined the military after high school.
Okay.
There's got to be a base foundation. Now that you say it like that, like I said, nobody's ever asked me that before, and I look at that and I think the leadership side of it from a young age was like, how the coaches were. I had my pop was a coach for a while, had some other coaches. And I think you kind of you take the things that you liked from a coach that they did, and there were some things that you probably don't like about your coaches, and you just kind of make that into your own, or you remember that as you get older and get into adulthood, you start getting into leadership roles for yourself, or when you have kids your own, you kind of take a lot of that. You remember, like, oh, I had a coach that used to do that, and I hated that. I'm not going to do that when I have kids or when I coach or whatever. So I'd say probably that's a great question. I'd probably say athletics at a young age, taking and honing in on some of that skill. But I've never thought about it that way.
So your dad was a coach as well. Did he coach you specifically?
Yeah, he coached my baseball teams, and then my flag football team before I got into tackle football and stuff like that. Yeah.
So is there a cool story there? Because mostly what I hear is that your parents is a coach on a team that you're on, it's a little harder for you than it is for everybody else because
he was technically my stepdad, but to me he's dad. He was pop. He was always there, and he was he had a little bit of a chip on the shoulder. He wasn't always the easiest to be around. He was kind of a perfectionist, and when it came to me, it was just like, what? If I messed up, he'd just look at you. What are you doing? I was like, I do. It's like, no, and so it was. But I learned a lot from it that I'm grateful for. So.
All right, you're holding out on me now. I want to get into some of that stuff, but we keep on moving.
I think the biggest thing with Pop was, I'm trying to think back of, this was junior high when he was doing the baseball stuff. So I was in a baseball league in the small city that we were living in at the time up in Wisconsin, and he volunteered his time, and we had a team, and it was just like, hey, do this, and it was he tried me out at different positions, and he was like, what do you like, what don't you like? And he was like, the best position in his opinion was, catcher, because you can see the game. It's the one position where you can see the entire game and everything that's happening. And then he put me in at
Okay.
pitcher a couple of times, and that was around the time where the movie Major League with Charlie Sheen, and they called him
Oh, brother.
yeah, and it was, I mean, I hit a lot of people as a pitcher. I did not have the accuracy. But it was funny because he honed in on that after about, I don't know, the third game and about the eighth person I hit. And he said, we're going to try something else. And he taught me, that's when I learned about how to pitch from a stretch. And after that, I could strike anybody out, and football, he was big on football. My pop was a big athlete. He played in college and on scholarships, and he was a quarterback, so I was a quarterback. And then I learned how to do footwork, and he taught me how to be a footwork of quarterbacks, and taught me how to read certain defenses at, like, who reads defense in junior high? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Nobody I know.
he's like, well, if this person's here, then you gotta look at this. So I would recognize some of the defense, what they're doing, and I'd change. He'd allow me to change the play, at the line of scrimmage. Like, who's doing that in the 7th, 8th grade? Like, nobody. You know what I mean? So it was. I learned a lot from
Right.
the athletic side of it from him.
That's awesome. You shared a story that I just love about your parenting journey with your son. I want you to kind of share a little bit about that, and also kind of speak to what you and I discussed privately about the perception of fathers in our current age.
Oh,
so I love to hear a little bit of your story about your parenting your son, and kind of the perception that you and I discussed that I want to flesh out a little bit more today if we can.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yes. Well, so again, I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I didn't have the greatest relationship with my parents, but that was because I thought, at a young age, you think you know everything, right? As young men, we know everything. Fast forward to, I'm 24 years old. I'm getting ready to deploy for my first deployment, and just gotten married recently, and I'm having a kid. And I have a son now who's he just graduated college 2 weeks ago. He's commissioned.
Congrats.
He's now a second lieutenant in the United States Army. But that's success now. But when I got back from my deployment, I always wanted to be a parent, because I always said, when I'm a parent, I'm gonna do things different. Right? How many of you that are listening or that are watching have said that? Like, those of you that are parents, like, hey, I'm gonna do things different when I'm a parent, and then you start creeping up, and he's like, damn, that's something my parents would do. Like, you're doing some of the stuff that your parents do.
Exactly the same thing in many cases.
Well, but for me, I really honed in on that, because it was like, I wanted to make sure I didn't do a lot of the same things. And I think, this ties in with the leadership in the military and stuff like that. That helped me be a parent as well, because I kind of treated my son as one of my soldiers. And I think it wasn't always easy, because you always have people telling you what you should and shouldn't do, as far as how you should raise your kid. And it's like, maybe you should, step that way and let me just mind your business and let me mind mine. I have a great relationship with my son. We've always had it. I did that deployment. I came off the deployment. I went to divorce court, and I got custody of my son, which brings me to how fathers are today. I don't know if this is factual. I was told this back in 2005 when I got custody of my son, that I was like one of the second or third fathers in the state at the time that had got sole custody of their child, because it's so unheard of in this country that the father gets sole custody. It's a little more over the last, I'd say, 15 years. It's gotten to be a little more and more better, but it's very, let's be honest, it's very mom fronted on it. And
Absolutely.
But here's the biggest thing: dads that are out there, fathers that are out there, regardless of what you're going through personally in here, if you have kids, show up. That's the key, is showing up. And all you moms out there that are not all do it, but there's a lot of you, you know who you are, like, oh, well, I'm gonna milk him for what he's got, and I'm not gonna let him see his kids. You're not hurting the dad, you're hurting the kid, which and that
Good point.
is just as dangerous, right? If you get a divorce, and I don't wish divorce on any people, you know what I'm saying? But let's be honest, it happens. We live in a society now where it's just like people give up way too easily on their marriages, and what happens
Wow.
is if that marriage has kids, the adults are too busy going at each other and they're taking it personally. What they need to do is stop that crap, because you're not. What's important is the child. The child didn't choose to be there. You had the child. It wasn't their choice to be there. It wasn't their choice to go through what you're putting them through, right? So take a step back and let's make it about the kids. And that's what it should be. If you have kids, that's the first thing that life should be about is your kids. And you should do anything you want. So
no, definitely. I love that, man. I want to go somewhere with the court part, but we're going to go ahead and cut that when we're sure. But I want to just ask you a question without getting too much into the confidential part of it. Do you feel like that happened because the mother's side of the argument was so weak, or do you think that the people who decided had a progressive mindset, if you will?
So
what do you think?
I will I will say this. I got a business mindset. So for me, when that relationship ended, it was all business from there. It wasn't anything personal. It was nothing but business, and I used everything I had against her. There was things that she did. And if she did something that was wrong, I made a note of it. I have a calendar. In fact, I just cleaned out my storage unit and I found the calendar, and I would mark everything. And when the court started doing the custody thing, and men, pay attention to this. Get a calendar, one of those old school calendars that you can hang up. And if you're splitting like 50-50 or whatever the custody arrangement is, if the mother's, she was 15 minutes late picking up the kids, write that down. She dropped the kids off 15 minutes early because of X, Y, Z. She didn't call the kids on the night she was supposed to call or whatever. It was like everything. Now, some of you out there, like, you're vindictive, that's fine. That's your opinion. Right. Okay. But here's the other thing. You may remember I said this earlier. It's not about me. It's about the kid. I'm doing what's best for the kid. And she was not in a position at that time in her life that was best for the kid. And it worked in favor.
Fair. No worries there. All right, let's go ahead and pivot a little bit. Now, I want to get into a few things about your podcast journey.
Yeah.
And some of the things you do in entrepreneurship. But let's touch on your clothing line, man. I don't meet a lot of folks with your background and have a clothing line. So the first time I heard them, I'm like, let me see a picture of this cat.
Yeah.
I got to see if it's what I think. It's not what I thought at all. So tell me how you got to that place where you decided a clothing line was the move for you to make.
Yeah, it was it's actually a buddy of mine. It's his mastermind child, and he asked me to be a part of it. And I've done like t-shirts and stuff in the past with another company, and this JB Auto Clothiers was it's bespoke suits, custom made to measure suits, and I'm just like, that's pimp. I need a new wardrobe. How can I get involved with this? Because I do public speaking, and I usually when I public speak, I'm usually in like jeans, cowboy boots, but I put on a nice blazer, a nice sport coat, and I can clean up. I could put on a full blown suit when I need to. And these suits are the type of suits I probably wouldn't spend the money on myself, because I'm just like that. It was an opportunity there. And it was working with a nonprofit organization as well, that was giving suits to transitioning veterans. So this company, JB Auto Clothiers, works with a nonprofit as well for transitioning veterans, and that made me feel good. And I liked learning about it. We went up to there's a factory up in Rochester, New York. I learned how these artisans put these pieces. You put something on and you just think, oh, it's a shirt or it's a jacket. It's no big deal. There's artists, there's people. It's an art form, and like our suits, they go through 75 different hands and through 150 different stations before that piece is put together, and it gives you a really different respect for things that, and you can customize it. So I got all my suits are customized. The insides got my name on all of my jackets and stuff like that. So I fell into it in a selfish way. So say again.
Look at you, fancy. Look at you.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So
I hear monogram. All right, I respect this, man. I respect this.
Yeah.
Or you guys that are watching and listening, if you want a suit that fits you perfectly, JB Auto Clothes, they know what they're doing. So hit Adam up, man, after the episode today and get some information on that. We can find those suits and get them customized for you. I like that, man. Yeah. Anybody that wears a suit, you want it to look like it's not your dad's suit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, this ain't one you buy off the rack, Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. Let's jump into some of the other work that you're doing, man. We'll talk about the podcast part first, then I want to get into HMG because I want to round out the episode in that area. But with so many in the market, man, why did you decide to do a podcast? So many folks, they say, I got a story or something happened in my life, or an instance of this or that. So I'm going to start a podcast, and the market is just super oversaturated. Why'd you decide that you want to get into that? And on top of that, help other podcasters build their profiles and put out better content. Why'd you decide to be involved with all of that?
So I cut my teeth in terrestrial radio in 2012 down in Phoenix, Arizona. And my background was sales. At the time, I got more of a background of sales and education type. So I was explaining military benefits and how people can use their military benefits to go to college. That lasted. I went on the show, did it. I got asked to come back about 2 weeks later. Went back, had fun. I was like, man, this is kind of cool, right? I got a face radio, so it worked out. So I was like, all right. And it was next thing you know, and one of the guys that I served with was there, and him and I got to talking, and sometimes, on terrestrial radio, you couldn't say certain things. The SEC didn't like it, so they had to push the guy in the back pushed the button.
Sure.
Wasn't pushing it fast enough for us. So we decided that we were going to, we're going to start our own thing online so we can say whatever we want, right? And this was 2012. We started the very first all veteran podcast network.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Nobody was doing it, especially in the veteran community. So we started it, and that lasted about 3 years. And in 2015, we closed that company down and kind of parted ways. We had different ideas of where we want to go, and I created Heroes Media Group. Now, that being said, that ties. I say it like that because it ties in with why I got into podcasting. It started in radio, and it just kind of kept going. And then in 2015, I started a show called The Decision Hour, which is about almost 400 episodes in now. And,
congrats, man.
Thank you. And people kept asking me, hey, can you help me start a podcast? Can you show me how to edit? And I just kept building the business from there. So it was, first off, it started as a podcast directory, and then we became a production company. And now we're a production, publishing, and a hosting company. So we have anything that's related to podcasts, Heroes Media Group can do. And then I coach people on how to start shows. In the last decade, I've had my hands on, I think the last count was about 18,000 episodes over the last.
My goodness, that's wonderful, man.
So yeah, it's fun. And to go back, I think your question was like, why did I do it? It was so saturated. Here's the thing: most people don't get don't continue doing it after the fifth show.
Yeah, that's the line right there.
18,000 plus, in with production, and then, almost 400 episodes myself. I'm too stubborn to quit at this point. So
No, I'm with you. I love what you're doing with giving a voice to the vets and the first responders and the community leaders that may never get the opportunity to be seen or heard. So I love that.
Right.
in podcasting, and I ask this question all the time to fellow podcasters because we all deal with it. We all deal with some level of imposter syndrome or something like that. But there's always a moment. I have plenty of them. I have more than one. But I want one moment from you that made you question whether you should continue podcasting or not. What's that one moment that was like, you know what? I think I need to get out of this.
That happens every day. Like straight up. That happens every day. But I think the biggest one was when I was transitioning from the first company to this company in 2015. I'll never forget it. I sat down. I was in Tucson, Arizona with Pop. We were at a bar having lunch, and I looked at him. And my Pop, just to give you kind of a bit background, he's the type that says, go work a job for 30 years, retire, die. Like that was the mindset, right? So I was thinking that he was going to tell me that. And I said, hey, Pop, I think I'm just going to go back to a corporate job. And, I gave this a shot. And he took a big gulp of beer and he looked at me and he said, I think that'd be a mistake. And that's not what I was expecting to hear from him. That's when I wanted to quit. And when he said that, I was like, okay, wait a minute. If he believes that I'm doing something special, then I have to be doing something special. And that was the turning point for me in my so-called career, if you will, that kept me going on this path. Now, I told you before that, there's days every day I think about, am I really doing this? I'll get an email, I'll get a text message, I'll get a phone call, somebody, hey, Adam, I need help with this. What do you think I should do? And that's what it's helping other people. That's where I realize what my purpose is in life right now, is to help other people get to where they want to go.
I love it. Man, I got a small handful of questions left. I do not want to leave them on the table. So we're going to try to work through this because I think they provide value to our listeners and viewers, many of who are podcasters and content creators like us.
Okay.
There are also folks who have served in the military, who have parents like I did, that served and they're no longer with us in some cases, and some they are, but they're experiencing challenges. So I want to kind of get into all these questions that I have left. There's so many, and you're definitely the right guy to answer them. But speak to kind of let's pivot a little bit. Let's go back to your work with podcasting. Explain to those that are listening or watching, because I know there's many who are buddies and friends of mine who view podcasting as an actual opportunity for a business.
Yeah.
But they just don't know how to put it all together. Talk to me about how you see podcasting as a business model. Speak about that briefly if you can.
Yeah, real quick. So if you're thinking about starting a business, or you have a business currently, you should be podcasting. It's free advertising. There's marketing involved and all this other shit. Like, use that as a platform to get your name and your brand out there. Hey, my show's sponsored by, HMG, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I do that all the time. Well, guess what? Because I own the network, I can do that, So it's like, but that's the thing, and here's the other thing is, like, if you have something, you have a story, you should be sharing it, because everything that the way that you say something could really take to somebody that needs to hear it. So if you're a business owner, can you turn this into a business? Absolutely. It does take work. Don't think it's not a get rich quick kind of a thing. There's work that you got to do. But yeah, it totally can be a business. And if you have a business and you're not podcasting, shame on you. You should be.
Powerful. I love it. I want to jump back to one earlier topic. I want to just be understood how unique your parenting situation is. I've seen that maybe twice in my life, and I'm not young, despite this youthful demeanor. I've seen it probably twice I can think of. Maybe a few times more than that, but basically in all the years I've been living, the decades I've been living, I've never seen that but a handful of times. Is there a community that you're a part of that has a similar situation like yours, being a single parent but being a male? How do you handle being on the streets and you see single parents that are not males, that are females? Is there something that you experience, that you notice about this? Get any backlash, any kind of mockery?
No,
how is this to walk through this?
there's nothing, I'm not part of any like secret society
Okay.
group for dads or anything like that. There's been
That's not
some.
what I meant, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, yeah, just throwing
Secret
it out there.
society.
But it is, it's. Do I get? Is there a mockery behind it? Here's where I think the mockery lies. Is that there are dads out there that are not getting involved with their kids, and they're not taking on the responsibilities. And we need to be men and take on those responsibilities.
Right.
As far as the moms, do I get it? I used to, and early on, where it was like, how did you end up? It was always how did you end up with custody? The mom must have been horrible if you got custody. I'm just like,
Wow.
the hell is that supposed to mean? Like, how about I'm just a good person and I'm showing up, right? Here's the thing.
The world we live in, brother.
It's if you show up, you'd be surprised at what can happen. That's my challenge to the dads out there. If show up. And if you're having trouble, show up, reach out. I'd love to talk to you. That's it.
I want them to reach out.
Yeah.
And of course, there's gonna be a lot of information that Adam's gonna share, but you can reach out to him, of course, on our YouTube channel in the comment section under this episode.
Yeah.
You'll find his links there, or they'll be there after the show directly. Reach out to him, ask those questions you have, whether it be about a suit that fits you well, or if it's about the Heroes Media Group, or if it's about some issues you're having as a veteran.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that he can offer insight in. We'll make sure we guys get you connected to Adam. This is a tough one for me, but I'm trying to breeze through it really quickly without getting too deep into it. Long story history with my dad. I think I might have shared some of it with you, but it's definitely on some kind of podcast somewhere because I've been spitting that stuff out for several years now. But we always felt like when he passed, we always felt like the way that he passed was so strange that we couldn't really figure out what kind of caused this. And we had people in the family talking about Agent Orange and things of that nature. But we were never really validated for sure, but we just heard so much about it. We just kind of thought that much smoke must be a fire attached. But kind of speak to the vet issues that you've been seeing yourself and why you think it's been largely unnoticed or neglected, if you can get into that. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. You go back to the Vietnam era, you go back even all the way to World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and up to local stuff from the 80s on, right? It happens to be men's PTSD awareness month is the month.
Yeah.
And it's this is a very fitting question, I think, for the time that we are in currently. The stuff that you're exposed to in the military, I could give you the smart aleck remark and just be like occupational hazard, and that's kind of the gist of it there. But it's stuff that we're being exposed to, whether it's shots before you go overseas. We used to joke around in the military like you had your cocktail before you got on the plane to go over to wherever theater you were going to, and you didn't really know what it was that you were getting. Some people got sick, some people didn't. You find out 10, 15 years later what it is and what it's causing some of those issues. So in the situation with your father, and God bless him, it's hard because during that time it was a different war. Agent Orange was a big thing at that time, and I've seen a lot of Vietnam veterans suffer from stuff that was caused by that. I think as you fast forward and you move to what we're seeing today with PTSD is a hot topic, and there's a lot of the veteran suicide rate is pretty high, and a lot of that has to deal with just dealing from mental health issues. So I hope this kind of answers the questions. I know it's a hard one to answer, unfortunately, but I'll say this: if you're a veteran out there and you need help, don't be afraid to ask, because people that say they don't understand, you say to people don't understand what you've gone through. It's BS, man. There's a lot of us that are out here that are waiting to help. and don't be afraid to ask for it, because that's what we're here for. We took an oath to help our brothers and sisters, whether you're in the uniform or not. So
Thank you, sir. That's pretty awesome. Well, you guys are listening that are vets, whether you're in or you're out, you might need help. Guys like Adam Bird, they know what they're talking about. They've seen a lot of things and they help a lot of people. So please reach out. We'll set up all that stuff after the episode where you can contact Adam and kind of get into whatever levels of discussion you need to. Just two final questions. You do a lot of things. You deal with mindset, you deal with parenting, you deal with vet issues, you deal with podcasting, you deal with entrepreneurship. Out of all of those areas, if you can just pick one highlight, if you would, I was like, man, if I can't do any of the rest of these, I'd love to be able to do this because I've seen this happen. What's been the most rewarding out of those, if you can pick anything?
I can't. There's two things that I want to answer, and that's continue to be the best father that I can be, regardless of how old your son gets.
And that's important, bro. That is something.
And just helping people. It doesn't matter what category those people fall under. Helping people is my purpose. That's what God's put me here for. I feel like that's what I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. If I can't do that, then honestly, I don't want to do anything else.
I love that, man. And if anybody's watched our show, you know what our last question is. It's the same question every time. The first one's the same about your upbringing, your childhood, and the last one's the same for everybody. Nobody's exempt. Nobody gets out answering this question, Adam. Just so you know this. It's for everybody. I'm taking everything that you do off of the table. Everything I just named.
Okay.
It's all off of the table. What would Adam Bird be likely doing right now if he wasn't doing any of those things?
Oh man, I'd be fishing or hunting somewhere. I'd definitely be fishing somewhere.
Are you gonna fish as a career?
As a career?
Yeah, I don't mean what you do on Saturday.
Let me say something. When you think about this, I would not be upset getting paid to go fishing every day. I would not get upset getting paid to go.
I just feel like you don't believe that's what the right answer is. I'm gonna try to help you out of this hole you dug for yourself. I don't know what you be doing on Saturday morning. That's not the question. Like what you be doing, like vocation wise, career wise, maybe even mission wise. You're not doing stuff with the vets. You're not doing podcasting. You're not doing clothing lines. Not doing business. What you doing?
I'm not doing business. I wouldn't be starting my own business.
No.
You know what? I think I would probably. Man, I've thought about this question so many times since the last time we talked. So the one thing that pops into mind is probably back in the military.
Really?
Yeah, that or being a lumberjack somewhere out in the woods, because I'm in the woods.
Okay. So little Adam was thinking about being a lumberjack when he was a little kid.
Yeah.
I'm not buying that whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's
such a tough question, you know what I mean? Because it's like,
no, but I mean, isn't it powerful though?
It really is. I mean, it makes you think, because it's like, what would I be doing if I couldn't do all? And really, it's a great question in a sense of it makes me realize just how blessed I've been, because I've got to do a lot of cool stuff. So thank you for asking that question. And I think about something that I've wanted to do that maybe I haven't done. That should have been the answer. What haven't I done yet? I've done a lot of cool things in my life, man. And I'm very, very blessed for that. I don't take that for granted. And I want people to really understand that. So like, what is it that I would be doing? It would be helping people in some form or fashion. Whatever that is, or whatever that looks like. I know that's a generic answer, but that's my core. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, it totally makes sense. I think one of the reasons why I thought the question was, I mean, I didn't steal it from anybody. It's kind of just came to me. It's kind of an epiphany. When we're young, we had these ideas that we probably wouldn't want to do, but two things usually happen. Either one, our parents squelch it because like that's not a good viable career. You're not doing that. That's just nonsense. Go get a job in engineering. Or the world around us, media, whatever, considers what we want to do taboo, so they start all over it. So we put it in the shelf and say, or put it in the bureau drawer and say, you know what, hey, I guess I can't do this now, but it's always in the back of my mind. You know, that's a dream. It could be a fireman, it could be
I got one.
Policeman, it could be
Here's
a
what
poet.
It's gonna be if age wasn't an issue, because I'm looking at you like you asking the question with all this gray hair.
Military at 70 years old. Yeah, right.
Well, yeah, no. I would, if I wasn't the age that I'm at right now and I had to redo things a little bit differently in life, I would have continued and pursued a baseball career.
Ooh, what position?
Catcher first. I had a stretch. I'm pretty flexible for a big guy, so it'd be first or catcher. Those would probably be the positions that I'd end up at. Yeah,
I love baseball so much. That was my first sports love, but the only spots that I was able to play, and mainly because of lack of training, lack of development, but just on pure athleticism alone, there's 2 spots on the field that I could handle myself pretty much. That's it.
Yeah,
right field, and I think right field, and I guess a little bit of first base. That's pretty much just the end of the story. But this is awesome, man. I love this, and I want to kind of just share this with you. I haven't gotten a chance. I haven't been running into you on social. I've been trying to find you for this. So my heart to do a men's roundtable series that we're going to do through this podcast broadcast. And I want you involved in the conversation. I want you to be a part of some of the roundtables. I think you bring something to the table. So I'm going to be definitely inviting you offline once we jump off to kind of be involved with that. We start in June. It is Mental Health Month. I didn't plan that. Couldn't have planned it if I tried. Somebody had to tell me that it was Mental Health Month. But it's the perfect time to start these kind of conversations regarding men. No offense to ladies. It's a men's thing, men's issues, being transparent, learning how to connect, those kind of things, family, parenting, all those things that we deal with. Even the vets are included, they can be involved here too. So we're starting that this month.
Love it. Probably
next week. I want you involved. If you have the time, we'll try to work it out.
Would love to.
But aside from that, man, thank you for jumping on here and doing this, man. This was fantastic. As I expected. For all you guys who were watching and listening with us, we're going to have Adam jump in on our YouTube channel in the comment section under the episode, which is already live. It's already out on all the socials right now. We'd love for you to go and check with him. He's have his links on his website, all the information that you can reach him at. If you're a vet, if you're a prospective podcaster, if you're a single parent and you are a man and you haven't been represented in some way, you got some encouragement right here. So he has a lot he can bring to the table. Or if you're wearing those suits from you know what kind of store and they're not really fitting good, JB Adam got there as well. So a lot of things Adam brings to the table. He'll have all his information out there in the comment section where you can find his social media links anyways, however he wants you to reach out to him. And let's get you guys connected. But for all you guys watching, listening, thank you again. Adam Bird and Mr. U, we're out of here. But thanks again for watching One-on-One with Mr. U. Have a fantastic day, guys.